Okay. Seches Bava Metzia. Welcome to Amud Yomi Shiur, to everybody here in the Avos Shalom Kollel Torah Center in Bet Shemesh. Welcome to our participants all over the world in the YouTube channel and in Torah Anytime and in Kol Lashon. We are learning now Daf Kuf Tes Amud Beis in Bava Metzia. We are in the third line of Kuf Tes Amud Beis, which will be today's Amud. Stay with us. This year's Leonishmas Avi Moira, my father, Menachem ben Akiva, my aunt, Aviva Bas Moshe, לרפואה חנה בצימה, ולרפואה פנינה חבס גולה רוכל, ולרפואה חיים בן סתה. Pesach Shachol Yisrael, who Shatla, says the Gemara, there was a Shatal. Now this Shatla, we said the Shatla is a person, and we're learning the halachas of people who work in other people's fields for percentage, right? Now, there are two types of people who work for percentage. I'm not talking now about the chochir, that's a different story. Some people, they plant the entire vineyard or orchard, and they take half of the entire gain from now and forever. But they keep working the field. They plant it, they start the company, so to speak, the vineyard, the orchard, and then they keep working, and forever, because they're the ones who started the whole project, they put it on its feet, they're the ones who kickstarted it, therefore, they are the ones who are going to get half of the entire thing. Very nice. Mashenka, and somebody who comes to a ready-made place, let's say there is a worker, a land worker, a farmer that comes to a place that's already being planted, such a person, it's accepted that if a shatal gets a half, he would only get a third of the entire thing. Okay, story time, interesting story with all kinds of twists and loops. Ahu Shatla, there was a shatal, a planter, let's call it in English, the Omer Lehu, he told the owner of the field, Havli Shavchoi, I want my shevach. I want now, I'm leaving work, I'm leaving you cold turkey. I'm sacking, I'm quitting without letting you know in advance in the middle of the process, in the middle of agricultural process. I already planted your vineyard and it's all very nice. However, things are still in the middle of work. You know, there's another season of harvesting and everything. I'm leaving you now. Give me all my shevach. I want the entire value of the half the field or half the vineyard that I deserve. Give me the whole thing, one lump sum now, because now I'm going. Why? I want to go up, which means I want to make aliyah to the land of Israel, the Aradi soil. I want to make aliyah to Eretz Israel. And I saw in one of the Meforshim, I don't remember which Rishon was quoted, that usually an oris or a chochi, they cannot do that. You can't just stop in the middle of the day. You can only stop in the middle of the day if you're in poil. Don't get confused. If a person is paid per hour, kind of, blue collar worker, then in the middle of the day, you can stop and say, I'm not interested. Why? We only Hashem slaves and nobody else's slave. That's what we saw in Dafa, in Zayin and Mudalif and other places, also in Perak Sheni. But in Oris, a person who works for percentage, like a Kablan, he's a person who works per project. He's not allowed to leave in the middle of the project and ask for money. The Shenkin, this guy wants to go to Eretz Yisrael, Heilige thing. This took place in Bavel. If you want to make Aliyah, that sort of compensates for that, and you're allowed to do that. You'll get half of your what? The gain, the profit. The whole vineyard made $1 million since day one till today, a few years. Look what a beautiful vineyard I created for you. And it's year after year, and now I want the entire shevach, the whole half, and basically buy me out, and what? My half I'm taking home. Yeah, you can either, soon we'll see what he's going to do. And I'm flying to Eretz Yisrael, I'm going to Eretz Yisrael, and goodbye, and finished. Also, of Papa Bar Shmuel. So he came to Papa Bar Shmuel because there's an issue here. Omar Lu, Papa Bar Shmuel told him, soon you'll see what the issue is. Give him the shevach. Now, I told you he's asking for half the shevach. It's not so clear because he said, I want the shevach. It sounded like the entire shevach of the entire field. What do you mean? Rav is asking, hold it. Iu Ashbach, is he the only one who was mashbiach, who created profit and value here, increased the value? Araloy Ashbach, didn't the land increase the value too? Which means, basically, the Oris is the only one working, right? The Oris now became a ganze Zionist, so to speak. Now we made Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael, wants to make Aliyah. What about him? He worked the entire field, but the field belongs to the other person, to the owner. Okay, so he's going to get all the shevach. The land itself, owned by Mr. Owner, is also part of the job, and so he should get half. Omer lei, so Rav Papa bar Shmuel, remember the name. Rav Papa bar Shmuel is the one who's paskening here. I know what I meant was to say, obviously, palga de shivcha kamin alach. I told you he should take half, as I told you before. Yeah, let's say it's a million, take half a million. We should already now start to talk using the number 6. Yeah, let's say in order to, Rashi is doing a tremendous job here, as he always does, to divide, so to speak. We have to make this imaginary division of the soda to 6 parts, although really that's not equal, but I'm sorry. Yeah, half belongs to the Oris. Yeah, this belongs to the Oris who's now leaving. What do you mean belongs? He demands now the entire half. Let's make an imaginary, division here. Half of the entire vineyard belongs now to the Oris. So buy me and give me 500,000, right? That's the entire Shevach. And the other half, obviously not, stays by you. Now you'll be the sole owner of the entire thing, and you don't have workers now. So give me half, go half, always, which is the shatal. I'm the one who planted. I go half. What's so difficult? It's difficult. Now it's really difficult to understand the next line is fine-tuned. And by the way, this shiur is, let me just, okay. So now, Omerle, yeah, okay. Omerle, here comes Rava and presents the problem. It's very nice for Papa bar Shmuel, you're saying that the Oris gets half, goes to Eretz Yisrael, goodbye, and he stays with half. Well, someone has to work the field, right? The owner is an Avrech Kollel or a high-tech guy. I don't know what he does for his living. He's not working in the field. He has to help his wife at home with a kinderlach to make sandwiches. He's not a worker. You stop cold turkey. We're very happy going to Eretz Yisrael. It's a very good move. What is he going to do now? He'll have to hire another person, right? To do what? Obviously, the owner of the land. The owner of the land does not work, because, what do you mean? Of course, he'll have to hire now someone to work the field because his worker left him. So now he has to have somebody else, right? So then he has to have someone else. No, you misunderstood. You're misunderstanding, and I'm okay. Again, he worked the entire field. I mean, literally, I meant to say he worked, the whole field, the worker, not the balabais. They didn't work half, yeah? He worked the entire field. At the end of the year, he would get half of the produce, and half not only of the produce, of the shevach. He's getting not just the produce, he's getting also the value of the trees themselves, because he planted them. That's a lot of money. That's even many times more than the fruit, as we saw before. Now, he's leaving, and these guys are, I need a new worker. You've never employed people? Maybe you didn't. Okay, let's say you employ someone, and then the guy leaves you, and halacha backs him because he left Eretz Yisrael. All of a sudden, you need a worker tomorrow. You run a website. You have to upload stuff now in 2 minutes. You have to order a new guy. What's so difficult? And he's going to work the entire field, but for a different kind of money, which is what? Frek the Gemara, Omerle, Ada Yidna have a shakil balabais palga v'shatla palga. Up until now, everything was hunky-dory and nice. The balabais would what? The balabais would take half, and the shatal, the planter, would take half. Half is a lot. He would take half. Why? Because the Chartilach Chesed Neoraich, we'll say in Rosh Hashanah, he started the whole project. He deserves half for life for keeping working there for life. He planted and he worked every year. Yeah, he's like the one who, let's say, established the website, the developer, and the uploader. He does the whole thing. He gets half. He's also an investor in a way. You can call it that way. Ashta now, Baila mate of Mantala Arisa. The new guy, let's call him the new Oris. That's I called him in the chart, which unfortunately not everyone has yet. The new Oris is now going to get a third. And there is a certain overlap. It's a little bit hard to explain it, I leave it on the side for now. But Lemaisi, he's losing. The Balabais now, let's now divide it to 2. Let's say Kilu, the part of the Oris is a different story, right? The half of the Oris is now bought for the Balabais, okay? Let's now look at the Balabais' part. This is the planter's half. That's the half that the planter, took, okay? And was bought by the Balabais. This now belongs to the owner, right? And now the owner took over everything, right? Now the owner has to pay, how much does he have to pay a new guy? A third, right? So Lamaisi is losing. He's losing, In other words, He now has to give a third to the Oris, so that's a big loss for him. Why? Because half you lost by giving it to the other guy, to the planter who moved to Eretz Yisrael, and now from his half, up until now, my half was completely mine. Leave that alone. My half was always clean mine. Now I have to give from my half, I have to give a third. Originally, I want to stay with half-half. I'm not staying with half-half because I still have to give you half. I know it's difficult to understand how chronologically it works. Just imagine, let's say, there's a period of time in which, let's say, the planter was prepaid. Yeah, okay. Let's say the planter was prepaid for the whole revach of the year of half-half, and let's say he deserves it. And the new gardener, the new oris, still wants to be paid a third of what's left of what belongs to Balabais. So Balabais is not left with the entire half, because the third of it he has to go to give to the new Oris, not like the new Oris. He has to give to the new Oris, to the new guy, because he gets a third of my part. He really gets a third of the entire part. Your part, Seder. But even for my part, I used to get clean. Up until now, half-half. I always knew I don't have to do anything. I get half clean every year. Now I don't get that half clean because at some point of time, there's some kind of overlapping period in which I still paid you half-half. Yeah, I paid you an entire half went to you, Mr. Planter. Yeah, I paid you all the profits. And some of the remaining things that the new guy is still in the middle of working, I have to pay a third. So now I'm only left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm left with 2, 6, which is a third. I the Balabais, at this season at least, I'm left only with a third. Rashi says it goes on for many years. I'm not sure why. But Lamaisa, there is some kind of period of time in which I'm losing on both sides. I'm the owner. I got a whole half I gave you, all the revach. And somehow at the same period, when he right away jumped in, I have to give him a third of what's mine. Yeah, but it's not clean anymore. That is the problem here. We're trying now to create a situation in which what? In which Balabais will remain with the entire half, which is 3/3, yeah, of 3/6, excuse me, yeah. They're divided to 6. Soon you'll see why. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We want to create a situation in which everyone's winning. The Oris, the planter, and the Balabais should remain with his half. The question is, how do we do that? That's a shaila. Right now, there's a problem. There's a problem because if he gets the entire half, that's 3/6, right? And of what's left over to Balabais, to the owner, he gives a third to Din as he's supposed to the Oris. That's bad news. I'll read Rashi inside. You can see you're confused. Let's read Rashi inside. Yeah, let's look at Rashi. I want to read Rashi inside, and maybe that will make it clearer. Second Rashi says Rashi, Kloimar. Second Rashi, yeah. Kevan the mistale kloi belois manoi. He left before the time, right? The shevach is not complete. True. The grapes were not harvested yet. Why should he take half of the entire thing? The entire shevach he gets half of everything. Why? Up until now, life was good. Balabais would take half, yeah. The other guy would work the entire field. He brings the work. I brought the land, which I bought with my own money because I'm a great high-tech guy. I bought with my own money, 10 fingers, I got the land. He works. Half. Everything was so good until he left. Hashta, now, what does he want? Now, I, the owner, will all of a sudden have to pay another worker besides the half I gave you. I'm now stuck and I have to pay another guy who'll charge a third even from my part. He's going to go to Eretz Yisrael, sacking me, shaving me from half the profits, yeah? Balabais is left with having to work the land. Work the land? Are you joking? All I know is how to sit by a computer. He's now he'll have to give everything to the Oris. The derech of an Oris who goes to a ready-made plantation, ready-made, I meant to say whatever, vineyard or orchard, a third. I don't know, Rashi says Bekol Shono. Yeah, the Achronim explain it. I didn't go into that. But Lamaisa, I am losing a third of my half. Your half, Kilu, was out. It was paid for. Yeah, forever, Shevach. And my third, not my half, I'm still losing a third. I'm left only with a third of the total of the Balabais instead of a half, which I always had. That's a problem. That problem is actually resolved very quickly. Yeah, as of now. Omar Lay, again, questions later. Omar Lay, no, you misunderstood me. Riva de Shivcha Kamina. No. I said that the Oris, the one, not the Oris, the Shatal, the planter who's living to Eretz Yisrael, shouldn't get a half, he should only get a quarter. The question is, what does quarter mean? And I don't mean the American money. Yeah, I didn't say half. I meant half of the half, which is a quarter. He gets a quarter. Now the question is, when you say quarter, what do you mean? So now a quarter of 6 is 1.5. Yeah, okay. Now, is that what he means? Yes or no? Says the Gemara like this. There are two ways. This is very important to know. Here you're going to see, maybe I'll show it online, plan A, plan B. There are two ways to interpret the line that the planter, the one who's so zealous to go to Eretz Yisrael, he's only got a quarter, not a half. What does that mean? Originally, Rav Ashi wanted to say as follows. Riva dehudanka, a quarter meaning 1/6. What do you mean 1/6? Let's look at it this way. Look at it like that. Let's divide the entire field to 6, okay? Really, they're all owned by the owner. At the end of the day, the owner bought it all off the guy, off the one who's now in Netbag, in Nefesh Benefesh, yeah? Very nice, okay. Now, out of this entire story over here, he gives a third to the Oris, because that's what halacha demands, to give a new Oris a third, and a quarter of what's left to the owner, which is really a 6, 1, 2, 3, 4 parts are left to the owner. One of them, and only one of them, will go to the planter. Sorry, only that goes to you, and that's very nice. He obviously, when he said a quarter, he meant a quarter of what's left to the Balabais after giving a third to the new guy. And then he's not losing, because look, out of 6, he remains with 3. Owner. 2/3 he gave to the Oris, which is really 1/3, 2/6, yeah? He gave him a quarter of what? Of the entire thing. You don't deserve a half, I'm sorry. You left me cold turkey, I'm all for Eretz Yisrael. You left me cold turkey, I have to give a third. I'm not losing my half. Here's my half. Owner, it's not 0, it's an O, yeah? Owner gets half. That's the way to read it. That's the right way. That's probably what Rav Papa meant when he said a quarter. Very nice. That's the first cheshbon, easy. And I'll prove it to you, yeah? And that's what Rav Ashi thought. It's not going to be the maskana. That's what Rav Ashi wanted to say. Riva de danka. Danka is a 6. Yeah, a quarter, which is a 6, meaning a quarter of what's left to Balabais, which is a 1/6 of the total. Yeah, because quarter, yeah, of, you explained it already. The Omer of Manyumi, Breda of Nechumi. Now, who told us that? I kept telling you all the time that the Shatal gets half and a new guy gets a third. Who told me that? Now you'll see. The Omer of Manyumi, Breda of Nechumi. The Ata the Shakil Shatal Palga, in a place where it's normal, it's accepted that the one who planted, who started the project, and is paid a half of the entire thing for life, and he keeps working there. Yeah, he is the establisher and the worker. You can call him investor. He gets what? He gets half in such a place. Darisa tilta, and a new oris, meaning somebody who comes to a ready-made, silver-plated place, all he needs is to keep the work. Yeah, he gets a third. Now, in such a place, high shatla de bailis taluki. If a shatal wants to leave in the middle, yeah, and let's say it's allowed, wants to go to Eretz Yisrael, I don't know, his mother-in-law is sick, I don't know, he has a reason to leave all of a sudden, wants to learn Torah. Yavinan lei shavcha, we give him the shevach, umesalkinan lei, we give him, okay, I wouldn't say in a not nice way, let's give you your share and bye-bye, mesalkinan, we evict you, goodbye. We're doing it in such a way, making sure Balabais has his rights and retains his numbers. He retains the profit. Okay, that's the formula. So basically we care about Balabais. Yeah, you left in the middle. Balabais is not supposed to suffer, yeah, because you're living in the middle and he has to find a new worker. He's paying you for the shevach and paying the new worker. Why should they lose on both sides? We have to make a system in which Balabais retains his profit, his value, which is half. Now, proves his point. Now, he wants to prove his point that a quarter doesn't mean a quarter of the entire thing, but a quarter of what's left to Baal Habais. Owner, these four parts, a quarter of this, not a quarter of the entire thing. How much is a quarter of the entire thing? 1.5. Because out of 6, 1.5 is a quarter. And now that's going to be the point now. Had you told me that a quarter means quarter, not a 6, meaning a quarter of 6, which is 1.5. The Baal Habais is losing half a 6, right? Baal Habais used to have half. There was a signed agreement, mister. Respect your words. Now, if we would give him a quarter of the entire thing, of all 6, right, which is really 1.5, then planter would get 1.5, and the Baal Habais gets how much? Gets 1, 2.5. 2.5 out of 6, even I know, is not half. It's half minus half. Yeah, it's less than half, right? That's not fair. Therefore, must be. Then when Rav Papa said a quarter, we translate the word quarter to be quarter of what's left from after giving the new guy what he deserves, right? And must be, a quarter really means a 6. Doesn't mean a quarter of the total, which is 1.5. Because if you give 1.5 to the shatal that is now going to Eretz Yisrael, Baal Habais will stay with less than half. Instead of 3 out of 6, he will stay with 2.5 out of 6. That's less than half, right? And Mimela, that's a problem. As you know, we are continuing now. Okay, very nice. Yeah. Omale, that is now the shot. Up until now, let's revise. Now we're going to go to the next move, and then you can ask your questions. Let's revise. The shatal does not get half. Mister, you get half when you keep working here. Or if you let me know a year in advance, or I don't know what exactly, or when your term's over, you can't just do it from today to tomorrow. Say, I want to have, it doesn't work like that. Get a quarter. What do you mean a quarter? You'll get whichever quarter that makes me, the Baal Habais, not lose. I don't have to lose. And what is that quarter? Well, you know that the new guy is supposed to get how much? A third of what's now my entire field. I gave him a third. I'm left with 2/3, yeah, which are 4/6. Out of those 4/6, I will not give you an entire quarter. I'll give you a quarter of what's left for me, which is a 6. And this way, 2 I gave him, the new guy. 1 portion I gave the old guy, Hatzlacha in your new house in Yerushalayim, Eir Kodesh. But those 3 parts will remain mine because I don't have to lose. I'll stay with half. It's that simple. Who said it's a complicated Amud? Shtuyot. Comes the Gemara with a new idea. So that's Sova. That's what Rav Ashi wanted. He wanted to interpret the word quarter as a 6, right? Which is a quarter of what's left over. Comes now Rav Acha Beder Rav Yosef with a whole novel idea. Omer Rav Acha Beder Rav Yosef Rav Ashi. Yeah, okay, papers here. Omer Rav Acha Beder Rav Yosef Rav Ashi. The lay malay, up until now, let me just introduce you to the whole new idea. Maybe that's what you wanted to ask. Who is the person who's like untouched here? Who is the holy cow in the story? The Nuaris. It's somehow agreed and accepted like an axiom. He gets a third of the entire thing, and let them fight it out. Excuse me? How do you know? Oh, very good. Omer le Ravacha Beder Rav Yosef le Ravashi. Ravacha Beder Rav Yosef is now asking Ravashi, wait a minute. I have a way of learning quarter as what? Kepshutoi. How much is a quarter out of 6? 1.5. Yeah. I want to say that Mr. Shatal going to Eretz Yisrael will get 1.5. And still Baal Habais will have an entire half. Who's going to lose? So sorry. Mr. New Oris. And it's very, very logical. V'lei malei, let the old Oris, the Shatal, yeah, Eretz Yisrael, yeah, let him tell the Baal Habais, let's rethink everything. And manta dilach havli larisa. You only have to give a third of how much of what is left over to you. Let's start the story the other way around. In other words, I want a quarter of what of the entire thing. I want a quarter of the entire thing that's 1.5. How much is Baal Habais left with? You know the math. Baal Habais is now left with how many? 1, 2, 3, 4.5 parts, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Excuse me. Yeah, 4.5 parts. Let's give the Shatal 1.5, and he's staying with 4.5. Out of those 4.5, he should give a third to the new guy. He should give the new guy, and that is how much? And that is really 1.5. It's another 6. Give him 1.5. This should be the owner's, and the new Oris, he should get 1.5. He should get 1.5. Why? Because 1.5 is a third of 4.5. Yes. Good. So in other words, very, very simple. Give him 1.5, the new guy. Give me 1.5, meaning a 6 to him, a 6 to him, and you stay with 3.5. You stay again with 2, 1 here, 1 here, another half here, another half here. That's 3. Very nice. You, Balabai, stay with 3. Yeah, give me an entire 6, which is 1.5, an entire quarter, which is 1.5 6. He should be losing because he should only get from your part. Why should he get from my part? Him and I have nothing to do with each other. Yeah, I got my part. I'm saying bye-bye, ciao bambino. And now from your part, you have to give him the third, not from my part. It gets better, but this is the basics. Let's read it inside again. Let the shatal tell Balabais. And manta dilacha larisa. You give your mana from what's left over to you after you gave me, Mr. an entire quarter, which is 1.5 6. You're left with whatever you left. From that, give him a third, and that will make him have a what? Also a quarter of the entire thing, right? No, and I, manta dili, from my part, I'll do with it whatever I want. What does that mean? The part I got is something which is now mine. I can resell it to you, says Rashi. That 1.5, I'm going to Eretz Yisrael. I don't need this field anymore. I'm not going to take the 8 sim with me in the plane or in the donkey, right? That 1.5, what about it? I can sell it back to you. And if you're concerned about him not getting enough, great. This is now a new part of yours, 1.5. Out of 1.5, give him half. Because how much you have to supposed to give him? Third, right? So give him a third of that small bit of mine that you bought from me. So then he'll get entire 2 parts. If he's so worried about his rights, he's not such a misken. He'll get 1.5 from you, and another half of a 6, yeah, to complete to have two 6 parts, yeah. That he'll get from where? From what you bought from me. You're not losing anything. Again, you're doing great. Everyone's perfect here. Let's repeat. Let's revise. Let's get it straight. There are 6 parts over here, right? We want to make sure nobody's losing, and Balbais remains with 3 out of 6 parts, because that's a half. Yofi. Says the Oris, I'm not going to lose, and even he's not going to lose. I demand you give me an entire quarter from the entire lot. How much is a quarter of 6? It's 1.5. Give me 1.5, leave me out of the cheshbon. From what's left over to you, you give him a third. He always has supposed to get a third. That's the formula. Mr. New Oris always gets a third. Great. Give him a third of what's left over, which is a quarter of the total, which is 6.5, 1/6.5. Now you want to give him more to complete to have an entire third. Great. From my part that you bought, you're now the buyer of my 1.5. Give him a third of that. You're supposed to give him a third of whatever you have. Like Meiser, it's a third here. Yeah. Give him a third. And now, very good. He'll get 1.5 plus half. That is 2 entire 6, which is a third of the entire thing. Woohoo! So he got a third of the entire thing. I'm happy because I got a full quarter money. I'm going to use it now to buy new house in Eretz Yisrael. And you give him, from your part, you give him 1.5. From the part you bought from me, you give him another half of the 6. That's 2/6. That's an entire third. And you didn't lose anything. You still stayed with 3 parts by you, which is half. You know who loved this pshat very, very much? Not just you and I. Omar, wow, he was so excited, Rav Ashi. There's Machlokes Rishonim, I'm following Rashi. Rashi says Rav Ashi liked the pshat, yeah? Omar, he said, wow, you're such a lamdan, such a learner, such an amkan. Kimatis l'shchitas kodshim. When we get to learn Maseches Zvochim, you know, the sugis of Zvochim, they're very difficult. Tave, actually, then he should come and ask me questions. You see, you're such a, Lamdan, Palpal, and Amkan. I don't know all these words in English. Yeah, all these, you're a very good learner. Yeah, you're a very intelligent person, very deep thinker. Shh, you made that cheshbon to keep everyone happy in such a miraculous way, and all the math. When it gets to Zvochim, I want to be your chavrusa. I want to hear your questions.
Yes,
Look at the chart.
losing. And as far as Shlomo, our accountant, will tell you Yeah, and it shows up that year he is losing, but that's okay because the next year he's going to take it up.
Okay, I think we should recommend people should revise this and then. Okay, let's see more on the same. Center. Okay, weiter. Says the Gemara. More on the same topic, but less complicated. Amar Manumi Breda of Nechumi. Gufa. Let's now learn what was brought as a side thing. Let's focus on that. Amar Manumi Breda of Nechumi. The Asra the Shakil Shatla Palga. In a place in which the Shatal usually gets what? Half. Yeah, if everything goes normal and he now goes not cold turkey. In other words, either it's year by year or he wants to take half of the entire profit he made and he announced this to the boss enough time in advance, or let's say it's supposed to be there for 10 years. At the end of the 10th year, we all expect everything goes normal. Then he takes half, right? Now, if he leaves cold turkey, how much does he get? Even if he has the right to do that, he only gets a quarter, as we saw. If he goes normal, half. The Arisa Tilsa, the Oris, a guy who comes to a field all nice and ready, he has to work, but the company is there, the field is there. He's a regular Oris who's just an ongoing maintenance guy rather than the starter. He's not a startup guy. He gets how much? A third. If that's the norm in that place, I shatla the bais teluki. If the shatal wants to go out, yabin lishavche, give him the shevach. How much shevach we give him? As you nicely said, a quarter, half of his half. He deserves half, and half of that we give him, right? Which is a quarter of the entire thing. And then we say goodbye. You got your quarter, say goodbye. We could just repeating now what we said before. That's gufa. Yeah. In order the balabais doesn't lose, because he tells balabais, listen, give me a quarter of the whole thing, half of my half, not more. And then what? Not the entire half. Otherwise, balabais would lose. The new oris that's coming will get how much? Again, an entire quarter, which is really a third of what's left to you. You don't like it because it's not a third. Don't worry. once you buy me off, from my part, you still give it a third of my part, as we know, showed very nicely mathematically. At the end of the day, a quarter plus half a six comes out to be the third. Yeah. Now what comes the next case? Omar ben Yumi Breda of Nechumi. Kupa. What happens if the trees go wrong? In other words, the trees don't grow the right way somehow. You can always blame the shatal and give him nothing. What happens if the fact it's not exactly his fault, but it's not his fault? Kupa Saba, Kupa Saba Palga, Shatvanara Riva. What happens if the Geffen, the vine, just became very old? And it's expected it got old, doesn't yield fruit anymore. Yeah, Saba, the Kupa, which is what? The vine became Saba, became old, white beard. Then what? Palga, you still give him half. Yeah, whatever you do with this is another question. But however you decide it, let's say you decide to now to use it for trees. Yeah, you can now say if there's nothing I can do with it, let's divide it and just use it as firewood, half. Now the tree is not yielding what you expected. I'm sorry, that's nature. I'm a terrific shatlan. I have PhD in shatlanut. However, that's a course of nature. I still deserve half. But shatfa nahara riva. Pashenken, if the river swept it away, it's not his fault. That's true. But this is something unexpected. Anything unexpected is similar to the shatal leaving suddenly. It's true. It's not the shatal's fault. But if lamaisa now something unexpected happened, it's not what the Balabai said in mind. Balabai said in mind to share. In other words, you have to understand something. The entire field and the vines, they belong to Balabais. The owner of the company is the Balabais, and the shatal is one, you can say, investing, working. He's not an equal partner. I didn't like it when he said partner. He's not an equal partner. Yeah, he can sack him. After 5-10 years, he's going to say goodbye. Yeah, he's half a worker, half investor. He's not equal in the story, right? You invested, I'll pay you. You invested and now it flunked, it went bad. It's not your fault, but it's a sudden thing. It's an unexpected turn for the worst. Then you only get a quarter of it. Yeah, because I don't have to lose. You don't have to lose, neither do I. It's not what was expected. Yeah, and therefore it's kilu balazim the shakil rive. Okay, and therefore that's it. That will split. I'll get 3/4 because really it's my field, and you who planted, you'll get a quarter. That's not what I had in mind when I said to give half. Now comes major machlokas bain rove. Ahu gavra. The last story for today. And then can you actually more questions about before if we have time? A person gave a mashkanta de surah. Remember from Daf Samech Zayin and other places, what's mashkanta de surah? Mashkanta was accepted in surah is a mashkanta that pays itself off. Yeah, you borrow from the bank million, and the banker sits in your field that's worth $1 million, okay? And every year, and you decided for 10 years, I don't know, to divide million to 10, yeah, every year we decide it's worth a tenth, 100,000, of course, I know it. Then 100,000, yeah, every year is worth 100,000, and you pay yourself off. If after 5 years I win the lottery, I get a promotion, Yerusha, I'll evict you, I'll pay it back. But as long as you're there and I'm there, instead of me paying cash, it's very nice. I don't have cash. Right, we spoke about ribis also, no ribis now. All right. That was the case. It's memushkan, mortgage was meshubat for 10 years in order to eat the fruit. And we decided that Achilas Peros is eating the fruit or selling them, the one who sits there. It's not ribis because they started in set price. Okay. They decided that every year is worth 100,000 and that's a set price. Whatever. That's what they decided, own thing. The cash l'chamishonin. Oh, after 5 years, as expected, Rashi points out, it became old. It became old, and now it doesn't yield fruit anymore. In other words, you're not sitting on my land to have jumping castles over there, like we yeah. You are sitting in my land to eat the fruit, the apples, the oranges, or let's say the grapes. After 5 years, it goes shvach, and it's not unexpected. Let's say those, life expectancy of those vines were 5 years, and after 5 years, it goes bad. Oh, now the question is what? Abaye Omar, now there are two things you can do with it. Abaye Omar Peirahavi. Abaye says you look at those trees that, what can you do now with those trees that don't yield fruit? What would you do with that? If you live in a cold country, firewood. Says Abaye, end of deal. This is now firewood. It's already Peros. As we said, now you made the exit. Let's say you have a very, very successful food company. Now you sold all the food. I know some very, very good high-tech product. Now you finally sold it to Microsoft. Wow. You made the big exit. That's it. Out of the story. Now let's divide it half-half. It's Peros. And it's not half-half. In other words, the Malve should now take it. The Malve should take its Pera. That's it. In other words, these are the fruit. Who gets the fruit of the field? Well, we said, who's eating the fruit for 10 years? The Malve, right? The one sits there, the banker, the Malve, the lender. Now, these are firewood. No half-half. It's not a shatal. Sorry, it's not a shatal. Excuse me. It's just, as I said, it's a Malve, a mortgage guy. He's supposed to eat fruit. Now the fruit turned into firewood. He'll chop the firewood, use it as fire. Maybe he'll construct something. All very nice. Rav Omar, no. Karnahavi, we still maintain the old agreement, and we've used those. This is very, very important regarding what we said yesterday. That's a different maslul. It's not eating it off and finished. We maintain it as principle, as kana, as a principal money. You know what we're going with that to do with that tree? Of course, we're going to chop it off. There is no other choice. However, we'll sell. It's not a done deal. We won't burn it in the fire and say goodbye, end of story, and to be enjoyed just by the Baal Ha, the Malve. Let's sell the firewood, and with that, we'll buy land. Let's say there's enough to buy land, and plant a tree, or hire it out, rent it out, and still we'll renew the agreement that way. Get what I'm saying? Yeah, let's say there are 100 trees. 10 of those trees are not trees anymore, just firewood. Take those 10 trees, sell them, buy new land, and start the new process for the next 5 years where he sits there while the other person, is paying off his debt. It's actually better for the loive because the loive now is paying off his debt without touching his bank account. Rav is more merciful to the loive actually, right? According to Abaye, he ate up all the fruit, the malve. Now he'd want cash maybe. I'm just thinking enough kamina. Now, but that's a machloikis. Abaye says, end of story. Firewood, it's not what we had in mind. Or even if we did, who cares? It's the end of story. Eat it up. The balabais eats it, not the balabais. The malve eats it up. That's fruit. Pashenk and Robert says, no. Let's continue the agreement. Let's sell it and restart the same mahalach, the same old agreement, just in a new form. Buy land, plant a tree, or rent it, or I don't know, build a gas station there, whatever. And I will be the owner, and I'll eat off the fruit till the end of the next 5 years. Now, till the 5 years are done, at the end of the entire 10 years. This happened middle of the 5 years. Mesivi. Now we're going to challenge one of the opinions. You'll tell me which one. Yav we saw previously that when there is such an agreement between Malva and Loive, very, very similar story. There's an agreement between Malva and Loive, and what? The Malva sits eating the fruit very nicely. It says outright, Yav if the Ilan dried out, it dried out means naturally. Yeah? No, excuse me, not true. Yav means unexpectedly. The Ilan all of a sudden dried and shriveled. The Ilan is a tree. The tree died, oy vavoy, oy niktzatz, or it already was very old, did not bear fruit. So halachically, says Tosfos, you're allowed to cut it off. You're allowed to cut off the tree because it doesn't bear any fruit. Shnei masurim boy. Both sides are not allowed to actually take, I don't know what's niktzatz really. They're not allowed to cut it. Yeah, they're not allowed to cut it. None of them is allowed to cut it and use it for himself. Why? Why is that? The Malva and the Loive, none of them can say, I'm taking everything and I'm just selling it. And even if he says, I'll give you half, it doesn't help. Why? Because each one has an interest to keep the principle there. Each one, no, leave the tree there. Let's sell it and replant. Why? Soon I'll explain to you why. Don't just burn it. Sell it for eitzim, like Rava says. Exactly what Rava says. What did Rava say? Rava said that you're not allowed to just eat it all up. Why? Because in this case, the Levi can say, what? Crazy. Why are you eating the tree and I'll have to pay you? No, I want to maintain the Karen. And you know what? After I finish paying you, I still want to have a small piece of land. I want to have a small piece of land. Yeah. I want to have a small piece of land for myself. When the milva is over, how can you cut it and just burn it? And the other side can say the same. And the malva can tell the Levi, you cannot cut it either. I still want to have it because I want to be paid from this tree. So nobody is allowed to touch it. What will they do? Together, like Menshalach, they should actually sell it and buy a land and continue the deal as it was. Nobody is allowed to stop the deal just because the tree went dry. No, you should continue the deal of owned by him. I'm the malve. He's a lobe, owned by him, but eaten by me as a payment for my loan should continue. Now, in order to pinpoint the question and show that Rava is right, my love, Yavesh dumia de niktzatz. Yavesh is similar to niktzas. What does that mean? The case of it shriveled is similar to the case where it's supposed to be cut off because it's old. Maniktzatz bizmanoi, right? Yeah, maniktzatz bizmanoi, just like niktzatz means the time came, it got very old, of Yovesh bizmanoi. Yovesh also means that's bizmanoi. In other words, Yovesh, unless known otherwise, niktzatz means when the time came, and Yovesh is sudden. But here, because we juxtapose the words niktzatz and Yovesh, must be that in both cases we talk that the tree got very old naturally. Bektani, that if the tree dies naturally, it's only wood, good for firewood, and that's the course of nature. It says ilokach ben kaka. Oh, al makana havi. You see, it's a Karen, like Rava. You see that the way it should be treated, the natural death of the tree, meaning it doesn't yield fruit anymore, whichever the reason, it's dry or whatever happened, you see that once it came to the end of its life, we don't say, end of story, throw it into the fire of the malve, and the malve says, oh, I was paid the whole thing, now give me more cash. No, we say, this is still Keren, sell it for firewood, make money, and with this money, make a new investment, and recontinue the same agreement. So you see Lakrova against Abaye, and says Gemara Loi. You can say just the other way around. Because of the juxtaposition of Niktzatz and Yovesh, I can learn just the other way around. Niktzatz dumia de Yovesh, I would say Afuch, right? Niktzatz, yeah, that Niktzatz is like Yovesh, which means my Yovesh belois manoi, just like dried out means sudden dryness, and Tosfos explains why it means against not in the right time. Of Niktzatz belois manoi, which means if something happened as a surprise, I was sure that this tree is going to live for 5 years. That was my plan. That was your plan. After 2 years, oy vavoy, lois manoi, horrendous. Then we say, of course, if it died too early, then we all knew that, or we thought, it's supposed to live for 5 years. It surprised us and now became, instead of nice, green, good grapes, it's just firewood. against what's expected, then avada, everyone agrees, even Abaye would agree, the lois manoi, that's not normal, that's not para. It's not what I came for. Then obviously, I didn't came to the field, says the Malve, in order to, after 2.5 years, to just have firewood and throw it in my fire. So what do? You continue and you revive the tree as you thought the tree will be 5 years old, and it died by 2.5. Well, died. It doesn't give fruit anymore after 2.5. Revive it. What would you do? Sell it for firewood. Sell it, and with that money, buy a new tree, buy a new land with a new tree. Very nice, and continue for the next 2.5 years, or even all the way to the end of the 10. But yeah, here Abai would agree. But she'en ken, if it's expected, now you understand Abai's svara better. If the tree lived up to the expected longevity, okay, let's say 5 years, and then he died, then says Abai, no, meaning the Malva is right. What does the Malva want? Malva says, no, I thought after 5 years it's going to die, and I was right. So I expected this. I've been fantasizing for 5 years about the moment of what? Of this tree becoming firewood. I'll throw it in the fireplace, and I'll give it to my friends and make money from it. They'll be my firewood. That's what I want. That's expected. That's a svara. When it happened too early, and Rava disagrees. Rava says, no, the Levi still has the right to say, hold it, mister. Hands off. I still want to recontinue. I want to continue that, sell together, replant it together. Let's continue the agreement with a new tree that bears new fruit, which you'll enjoy. Okay? Maybe it's a problem. Orla, I don't know, Seder. So you'll buy land and you rent it out, or you got jumping castles there and pay, the kids will pay you. But if it's too early, everyone agrees that it's not expected. Yeah, I mean, even Abai agrees that it's, yeah, if you die too early, unexpected. And therefore, then we continue the agreement of the tree being there as a canon, as a principle to yield more fruit. There are no fruit, good. Sell it as firewood, get money, buy a new tree, a new house, a new something, and rent it out with, again, with the same concept of Karen and Paris. You sit there, you eat the Paris, and will not have to pay a penny because everything will be paid by the Paris. Questions are more than welcome now, although I do have to make them. Okay, thank you very much. Atzlocha Rabba to everyone who is here, staying with us through these difficult sugyas, and thank you to everyone at home, YouTube, Torah anytime, and Kol HaLashon. Hatzlocha Brocha, may we come ready to the holy day of Rosh Hashanah. Yishar Koyach.